Schoolies. 2 weeks of absolute mayhem to celebrate the completion of 13 years of absolute boredom. For those of you who don't know what Schoolies is, it's basically a 2-week holiday at the end of year 12 where you can get away with behaving like an absolute degenerate before real life and responsibilities hit you like a bullet. Now, some of you may have noticed that I left Schoolies out of my high school video, and that was completely on purpose, because if you know anything about Schoolies, you'd know that it deserves its own separate video. Now, you may have seen things on the news, TikTok, Facebook, or other social media platforms saying that Schoolies just isn't what it used to be. But judging by the annual news and social media frenzy, I find that hard to believe. Now, unfortunately, Schoolies is just one of those topics where you can't go into every single detail on YouTube simply because it's too inappropriate. But what I can do is get into some of the people, places, and shenanigans that go on during the Schoolies weeks and give you a pretty good idea of all the f***ed up that goes on. Anyway, that's enough waffle, let's get into it. One of the most important parts of Schoolies has to be the location. You see, there are many different locations where Schoolies takes place, but here are some of the more popular ones. Now, if you've got money to spend, you have to go to Bali. And if you've seen my previous video, you'll know just how chaotic that can get. But 2 other expensive but popular locations that are still within the country are usually Byron Bay or the Gold Coast. Now, the best way to tell which Schoolies location is the best is simply by seeing which one comes up in the news most often. And that, of course, is usually Byron Bay. Now, this here is a prime example of one of these stupid news stories. According to the Daily Mail, at the 2023 Schoolies, some kid stole a girl's Amex credit card and bought 14 vodka drinks within 29 minutes. Now, according to the boy, some man gave him this credit card. Whether she dropped it on the floor or this dude pickpocketed it out of her purse, I don't know. But what he did next is possibly the most Schoolies thing I've ever heard. Instead of telling the guy, no, I don't want the card, or handing it in to the bar staff, he decided to use this card to shout him and his mates a bunch of free drinks. And when the cops inevitably caught up to him, his excuse was that he spent all of his own money at the pokies. Anyway, let's get back on track. Now, if you don't go to Bali, Byron, or the Gold Coast, there's only really one other option, and that's just to go to either the closest beach town or body of water to where you live. And that brings us onto our next part, accommodation. The best Schoolies accommodation is always whatever's the cheapest, and there's a reason that 99% of Airbnbs in these Schoolies hotspots specifically say no Schoolies in the description. But booking out an Airbnb isn't even the best decision when it comes to Schoolies, because what you actually want to do is book a room in one of these multi-story hotels. Now, these hotels is where most of the chaos in the Schoolies period takes place. Just imagine a 10-story hotel where every room is filled with 5 18-year-olds doing nothing but drinking, smoking, and other things that I can't talk about for 2 weeks straight. You see, one of the best parts of booking out a high-rise hotel room is the balcony, and this of course is a major part of the Schoolies experience. The balcony is perfect for photo opportunities, a great place to smoke and not stink out the whole hotel room, but most importantly, it's perfect for throwing furniture off of. But unfortunately, there's always that one person each year who falls off the balcony as well. But while we're on the topic of falling off the balcony, let's get into some other things that there are to do at Schoolies. Now, of course, you can go to the official Schoolies events, but judging by the videos that I've seen in recent years, there's much better ways to spend your time. You see, Schoolies is a 2-week period where you get to try every degenerate behaviour before you buy. So with that being said, some of the great things for you to do at Schoolies include drinking, gambling, drinking and gambling, littering, hooning, fighting, and of course, getting arrested. Now, obviously, I don't encourage this behaviour, but who listens to me anyways? Anyway, let's get into the type of people that you see at Schoolies. Now, this first one is not only one of the most important, but possibly the most pathetic, and that is the toolie. Now a toolie is a person who comes along to schoolies and gets involved in the schoolies events, even though they're like 35. Now the easiest way to spot a toolie is by looking for jumpers that say things like class of 2014. These people are usually at schoolies because they've got nothing better to do and no other responsibilities like a job. You'll often find these people doing things such as pickpocketing credit cards out of girls' handbags, causing mayhem, starting fights, and getting arrested. But that's enough about toolies, because as the saying goes, no one likes a toolie. The next type of person that you'll see at schoolies is that one kid who, despite having graduated year 12, is still only 17. These kids usually have a fake ID, but when they inevitably get caught out by a bouncer and it gets confiscated, they get the privilege of spending the remainder of their schoolies time either walking the streets aimlessly or living it up in the hotel room. Anyway, the next type of person that you'll see a lot of at schoolies are the red frogs. The red frogs are volunteers who volunteer their time to help keep schoolies safe and running smoothly. And while they do a good job of doing that, almost all schoolies attendees overlook that aspect of their work and simply abuse them for the free breakfasts. You see, all you have to do is get a mate who passed year 8 drama with flying colours to pretend he's not feeling well. Then you call up the red frogs hotline and they'll come bursting in with a first aid kit and 4 bottles of shake and bake pancakes. And just like that, you've got enough pancakes to feed a small village in Africa for a week, and enough bandages to turn your next mate who passes out into a mummy. Next up, of course, is the angry local. The angry local is usually some boomer who, when they're retired, unknowingly bought a house in a schoolies hotspot. You'll often find these people arguing with the schoolies crowd to no avail, or complaining on the local community Facebook page despite the fact that no one gives a But what a lot of these angry locals learn to do is put their house on Airbnb for those 2 weeks, then go on holiday and let the money roll in. And if they're lucky, they might even make some profit on top of the repair fees. And of course, the lucky last type of person that you'll see at every schoolies is that one taxi driver who will happily put 9 people in a 5-seater and only takes cash. These guys are the real heroes of schoolies, and somehow they're always available 24/7. Anyway, by the time your schoolies period is up, you should have learnt a few things about life. Those being that the pokies can and will turn cold hard cash into thin air, gravity always wins, and there are a lot of people out there who are dumber than you. And now that you've got an empty bank account and possible criminal history, it's time for you to head home and back to reality. And on that note, it's time to end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment and share if you'd like to hear more teachings from the Prophet of Yorak Hunt. And if you enjoyed this video so much that you watched it all the way till the end, make sure to comment,
"Yeah, boy!"
to let me know.